back to Boys Bible Study Almanac. We are your source for Christian wit and wisdom. And we also are going to tell you the best time to plant your crops. I am your co-host, Ash. I am here with
Scott.
And ye old Julian.
Boys, tell me, I'm going to read something. Tell me what these words mean to you. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Is that in Proverbs?
I think that's a proverb, actually. It's an old American proverb. And it is the words upon which our great country was founded. Of course, I'm referring to the United States of America.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Mm-hmm. They really knew what they were doing back then. They really had a way with words.
And a way with explosive devices.
They sure did.
Rockets red glare. They
Rockets
weren't joking.
No, they really weren't, as we learned. First of all, to all our gentle listeners, happy 4th of July. All of our American listeners, I guess I should say, are celebrating independence. To all of our British listeners, you never know what you got until it's gone. That's all I can say.
You should have been better to us.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's around July 4th when we're posting this. We, of course, wanted to look at a Christian movie that's imbued with the American spirit. We had many options to choose from. I mean, it almost seems like this particular type of Christian culture is like inherently American in some way. I mean, that's true, right? I mean, how many like foreign Christian films like even really come up on our radar? It's not that we're opposed to doing one, but like, are there?
Yeah, Canada's usually as far as we go.
Right.
Yeah. And I would say, given the amount of movies that we've watched where a non-American character is both not Christian and also evil,
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, you're pretty right on the money with them being a particularly American subsect of Christianity.
I think so. It's like we love making movies. I mean, many countries do, but I mean, shit, we invented it, baby, you know?
Ben Franklin.
Ben Franklin.
Train exploding at station.
Carriage pulling into station. Was actually the first motion picture, who, as we know, was invented by Ben Franklin, one of the founders of this country. So yeah, although in a way many of the movies we watch...
what made Ben Franklin? Remember that? I was Kevin Spacey, but I did it as Richard Nixon for some reason.
Yeah, so like, you know, really so many of the movies we watch are American in a particular way, but for 4th of July, we wanted to do an American-ass movie. Like, no fucking around. Like, let's really get into the spirit of America. So we picked Beyond the Mask, 2015. What can we say about this film to start? Do we know any background or any notables?
It has nothing to do with the fan-made movie The Mask that came out in 2017, starring a character named The Meesk. That is way too long. Don't bother tracking it down.
Yeah. You don't have to watch this. You don't have to watch either one to, you know, be informed of the other.
No.
They're not companion pieces.
But you should watch this one. It's on Tubi.
Yes. Shout outs once again to Tubi.tv, one of the greatest purveyors of digital media in this current era.
They have a category called like faith.
They do. And yeah, so I mean, that makes it easy if you're looking to, you know, fill that spiritual void in your heart. We also, as a resource picking this episode, went through the Christian cinema patriotic section.
Yes,
Right.
The patriotic movies section.
We did, looking for some inspiration.
So if you're looking for something to fill your afternoon up after you listen to this episode,
And you think it's reasonable to pay about $7.99 for a rental?
Then we highly recommend you go to our friends christiancinema.com and check out their patriotic options. But
I believe they're 90-minute rentals too. So try to pick a movie that's shorter than 90 minutes.
I love the idea that like you'd be like halfway through a Christian skewed documentary on like the invasion of Normandy or whatever, and then your rental expires like while watching it. But you specifically, Julian, requested, you were like, no, we're doing like powdered wigs. Like I want to see like powdered wigs.
That is what I said.
Yeah. What I cannot tell a lie. What draws you to appreciating the iconography of the founding of our great nation?
I don't know. I just thought it would be funny to see somebody pretending to be George Washington.
You love
in like
people.
a low budget movie, a very self-serious low budget movie, and we got exactly that.
Yes.
We got people pretending to be George Washington, Ben Franklin.
Yeah.
It was more enjoyable than Hamilton. I'll tell you that much.
Oh my God. You just saw Hamilton.
I did just see most of Hamilton.
I still haven't taken the plunge.
At the theater, you went in person?
No, I watched it on Disney Plus.
Oh.
But interesting thing they don't teach you in schools, and maybe this is part of critical race theory, but the founding fathers, not actually rich white slave owners. They were actually cool black guys.
Oh.
That's good to know.
Mm-hmm. And they were very good at just the absolute worst kind of rapping. The kind of rapping that you do not need any talent to do.
Yeah, well, Benjamin Franklin was considered by many to be the first rapper. In his foundational work, Poor Richard's Almanac, he invented what would later be termed to be rap and hip hop music.
Yeah. He had the first book of rhymes.
And that's true.
I took a class in college called The Music of Frank Zappa. And if that
What the fuck are they teaching you?
Testament to what higher education actually is versus what conservatives think it is. Then I don't know what is. But our professor showed us a video of Frank Zappa like talking over a backing track at a live show in like 1982 or something, and he was like
basic spoken word.
Yeah, he was like rhyming, and he was like, you could almost say that Frank Zappa invented rap.
Shut the fuck up.
And like it was the most groans I've ever heard coming from like a classroom of 30 people.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, still Frank Zappa's rapping was better than the music of Hamilton. The schoolhouse rock.
What?
Educational rhymes of Hamilton.
Dang.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could then argue that you could not only learn just as much about the foundation of our great country, but also perhaps get a more entertaining and more wholesome experience by watching Beyond the Mask 2015. The only real like person we've covered so far that I think is involved in this is that we do see a Stephen Kendrick in the credits.
Yeah, co-writer.
Stephen Kendrick, one of the Kendrick brothers, famously involved. And I can never remember which brother did what on which of their movies, but, you know, we're talking... wait, the Kendrick brothers were Fireproof, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, Fireproof.
And Alex Kendrick directs on all of them. And Stephen Kendrick writes and produces on all of them.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, this movie is connected to the Kendrick Brothers extended universe in that the lead character of William Reynolds was the great grandfather of the main character in Fireproof. No, I was stalling while I looked up the director. The director, Chad Burns, was, I think, a camera operator on one of the Kendrick Brothers movies and did the visual effects for Overcomer.
Wait, I can't get over this idea now. Since we're rewriting history in this movie, let's go ahead and say this, that William Reynolds is the great grandfather of Kirk Cameron's character in Fireproof.
Absolutely.
And he, you know, he did his own special series of events, including letting lots of people die, to win the affection of the woman that he had let down.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. This is like the American JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Just a multi-generational story of man's relationship with Jesus.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that makes me so happy. So yeah, we do have, the hand of God, aka Stephen Kendrick, is definitely touching this film. And, I'm not gonna lie, there were times as we were watching it that I was like, how Christian is this film gonna be, really? It really kind of like lost the thread on that for a while. But no, I mean, it was explicitly Christian. It really was.
Yeah, the protagonist comes to Christ in it. And tells the woman he wants to sleep with about it right away to impress her.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's a Bible verse at the end of the movie too. So.
Yes.
This might have been the most blatant of all the movies we've seen where a guy has done horrible, horrible things as an adult of his own accord. Yeah. Didn't seem to think there was anything wrong with it when he was doing it. But for whatever reason, when we see him in this movie, he's like, I'm tired of doing that. And now I deserve forgiveness.
Yes.
I don't deserve punishment or anything. I deserve forgiveness.
Yes.
So, Jesus, here I come. And by the way, if I say I like you, this lady will let me get in bed with her.
Yes.
It's like pretty much the only reasons why this guy is into Christianity. As he says at the very beginning when he sees her, where he's like pretending to be a priest. And he said, I could get used to this.
But he did genuinely want to find a new path, though, after his boss chased him out of town and tried to murder him.
Yes.
Right, yeah. After he was done killing the last guy that he wanted to kill, he wasn't even like looking for Christianity. He just wanted to have a bunch of money and go live somewhere else.
Yes.
He just wanted to stop working.
Right.
Yeah. It's an American tale.
That is really true, actually.
A rich, evil man saying he deserves forgiveness just because he's going to go to trial for war crimes, I guess, at some point in this movie.
Honestly, I didn't think of this while watching, but you just talking about that, Julian, made me realize there are some parallels with the Ja Rule fronted movie I'm in Love with the Church Girl, where, it stars known pussy hound who, as you said,
and it has big pussy in it.
That's true. Big Pussy.
That's true.
Our favorite Sopranos cast member, Big Pussy, is in I'm in Love with the Church Girl. Thereby just like proving this thesis even more. But yeah, another like grown ass adult man who is not quite really his motivation at the end of the day. Like if you look at the context of the movie, like he's brought to Christ by
True. So basically this movie is I'm in Love with a Church Girl meets Fireproof, but around the time that the Declaration of Independence was about to be signed.
It's that genre of man doing anything to win the woman he loves.
Yes.
And it just so happens to be she's a Christian. Like she could have literally been anything.
Yes.
And he would have done that.
Absolutely.
He needed to actually light the fuse to blow up the city to win her affection.
Right. She could have been on the very opposite side of the whole battle, and he would have been doing that.
Since this is made up history, can we just skip all over the place for this movie?
Absolutely.
So there's some kind of papers that he has that prove something to somebody.
We should say I think you should definitely watch this movie, dear listener.
Yeah.
It was really enjoyable. Very funny.
It was funny. It was free. It's like an action movie. It's not like a dogmatic, like one person in a room, like preaching at you. It's like people doing parkour in the mid 1700s. It's funny. Like you'll get a kick out of it.
It's the same stuff you learned in school. So we can't spoil it.
Right.
This is what they teach you instead of Democrats own slaves.
You were talking about
the co-protagonist. What was her name?
You mean the girl Charlotte?
Charlotte.
Yeah. Something.
So when Charlotte finds out that William Reynolds could have turned in these papers to the authorities to prevent different evil men from doing evil things, all these people wouldn't have died. And he's like, but I did it for you. And that was pretty cool. He's like, this blood is on your hands.
I don't understand what's happening. You told me you had evidence. Why did you wait? Could you have stopped the killing in Philadelphia?
I waited because of you. I did it all for you.
For me?
I've been trying to become the man that is somehow worthy of you. Of the respect you once gave me.
William, do you mean to tell me that you were letting people die to somehow earn redemption for my love?
He really did. Like, that was just like that whole scene. I was kind of like waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was like, oh, that's a little weird. Are they going to like sort of talk this through? And then, you know, she was like, well, you know, only God forgives. And then like the exact next scene, she's like praying. She's like, God, I know he's done some bad things, but my God, I love him.
Yeah, even talking to God, it doesn't pass the Bechdel test.
I loved that. I love that. That is another really fun thing about this movie. Is even if you assume, as we correctly do, that God is a girl, this movie does not pass the Bechdel test. She even only talks to God about the love of a man she wants to find, which rocks. So let's briefly start the plot of this film. Again, definitely not going beat by beat, but I do think for the sake of fully explicating this story, we should say that this movie is about William Reynolds, who is some sort of high level like I want to say like spy. Like he definitely does like foreign like fighting and intrigue.
He was a corporate assassin.
Yeah,
He worked
he's
for
like
the British.
Blackwater or something.
Yeah,
like that,
exactly.
basically.
He was a private contract killer for the East India Tea Company.
Yes.
Students of history may remember that the East India Tea Company
Trading company was,
they
were the main enemies in the Revolutionary War, I think.
Were they?
According to the logic of this.
Yeah. They certainly, it's going to be tough to fill in some of the historical gaps. I'm definitely, none of us are really history buffs here.
I don't think the people who wrote this movie were history buffs.
Well, that's the thing, exactly.
That's the fun thing.
I mean, going through this film, it would be so easy to, point out things like, for instance, there was no system of wires going underwater that could remotely detonate a bomb to blow up the entire city of Philadelphia.
Well, that part wasn't real?
That part, I'm afraid, was not real. However,
disappointing.
It would be very tedious to, for instance, go through the whole movie and point out these things. Let's just say, for the sake of the historical logic in this movie, that the East India Trading Company, the East India Tea Company, they are the primary antagonists, and they are deeply opposed to the formation of these beautiful United States of America.
Yeah, one guy, the head of the company, apparently.
Yes.
Which, by the way, was like the most powerful company in the history of the entire world.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like he's living pretty modestly for somebody who is like probably one of the wealthiest people in the history of humankind.
They should play up that factor.
Yeah, no, they didn't really. He was just a surrogate for like the British government.
Right.
And the guy who played him was John Rhys Davies, which is pretty cool. And he did a great job, I thought.
So that their desire for independence is overwhelmed by their need for law and order.
Provided by you.
Who else could be entrusted with it?
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Best known to our millennial listeners as Gimli. From The Lord of the Rings. That's correct, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Or Generation
And my
Before. Or Generation Before, Salah from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is that in that movie?
He's like Indy's Egyptian friend.
A chameleon of the screen.
Yeah.
A racial chameleon of the screen.
And he loves explosives.
Everybody loves explosives in this movie.
Yes.
That's true.
He loves him. Ben Franklin loves him.
The
Osama bin Franklin. That's what they should have called him with all these bombs.
Ben Hussein Franklin. Not just the bombs, but there was so much good like 90s style and later action in this.
Yeah, it felt like a very, even down to like the runtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An hour 40 minutes.
Yes. In between all the explosion effects in this movie, which I did look it up, and although there were grenades and various detonated type things in that time, the explosions were like so anachronistic to, as you said, like 90s action. And you're right, whoever made this film in 2015 was like such a dedicated student of 90s action. I think that was why it was like at times such a pleasure to watch. It felt nostalgic in a way. You know?
I thought that was a really fun idea too, applying that to 1976.
Yeah, 1976.
1976. A lot before I was born.
Yeah. It's been a long time since I saw The Patriots. Mel Gibson's The Patriot. It's been so long. I watched it they showed it to us in sophomore year history class.
Really?
Yeah, I think we watched it in a history class too.
Is it good? Any parallels to
You know
this
what?
movie?
I worked at a 20-screen Regal theater at the time it came out. That is the only movie that played while I worked there that I did not watch.
Was that
interest.
was that written by Mel Gibson, or because it has the only part I remember about that is how he like becomes like an expert in fighting with hatchets out of nowhere because he gets really mad. They like kill his family or something. And then there's a scene where there's like a black revolutionary soldier in their militia, and he sees like some flyer when they're in the swamp or something that says like all people of African descent who defend the colonies will be granted freedom.
I see.
And he like breaks down crying, and it was just like such a funny like, oh yeah, America's always been on the side of everyone.
Right.
Moment.
Right.
That you live and learn, and you look at things like that in movies, and you're like, oh, this is why people say there's no problems in America, because they see something like that and they're just like, no, they freed all the slaves.
Right.
And then nothing bad happened.
Right. It's hard for me to really speak expertly on The Patriot because it's been so long. Year 2000. So the only reason I bring it up is like maybe it's in this tradition of 90s action, Revolutionary War, ahistorical movies. Apparently, Roger Ebert said of The Patriot, none of it has much to do with the historical reality of the Revolutionary War, which makes sense. And neither does this movie.
This
hilarious.
has more in common with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man than it does.
Yes, it really does.
The Revolutionary War.
It really does. To further set the stage, so we're introduced to our main character, William Reynolds. He escapes, as we said, from Charles Kemp, played by Jonathan Rhys-Davies, and
he escapes a car bomb.
Yes,
it's the first explosion, a fucking car bomb on a horse-drawn carriage.
Yes, the carriage is on fire, and there's no driver at the wheel.
Much like our, the state of our
parliament, if you ask
exactly
me.
Yeah, my gosh, they're more like a clown car on fire, a clown carriage on fire. Which the car bomb really annoyed me because they put the bomb on the bottom of the car and then told the two guys who were in the carriage like, make sure you're away from the carriage when it explodes, and then they still just try to shoot him while he's in the carriage.
Yeah.
Because a vicar comes up and says, "Your carriage is on fire."
Right.
Which it was. There was no. I didn't understand the scene at all. It felt like it was written by like three different people who didn't get to see each other's scripts, and they just like shuffled pages.
Yeah, they played a game of Exquisite Corpse with like all the different like characters in it.
Yeah.
This one part didn't make sense in retrospect, but I really got caught up in the action.
It was cool. Just logistically didn't make a whole lot of sense why they would have to shoot a guy and also blow up the carriage.
Yeah.
Because I feel like an exploded, I guess they were trying to like cover it up as an accident, but I feel like an exploded carriage is a lot more suspicious in the year 1776.
Well, maybe they didn't realize like what that really meant because it didn't exist at the time.
That's true.
But yeah,
This carriage had the vapors.
A vicar tries to warn him of the impending carriage bomb. The carriage bomb still goes off. Our protagonist, of course, survives. The vicar dies. William Reynolds then takes on the vicar's identity. So all of a sudden,
style.
Right.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, our sinner is a holy man.
Yeah, holy man undercover.
Stephen Walters.
That's his new identity. Where have we seen this trope? This is a trope that we've come to see in a couple Christian films.
Yes.
Every David A.R. White movie.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, especially I was thinking of Mercy Street, where David A.R. White plays both himself and his long lost, cool, tough bad boy twin. Except in that movie, when the cool bad boy twin has to be a priest all of a sudden, he does a great job because he's a bad dude and he's really confident. And he just like realizes that there's a collection plate going around and puts two and two together and gives a great speech.
Right.
Cleans up. I thought it was a little ridiculous when this guy faked his first sermon, how not confident he was.
Yeah.
You know, like he should have watched Mercy Streets like before he did this part of the movie.
Yeah, or he should have, I liked the Mercy Streets. I like that scene a lot better than this one. I completely agree. Because, in the Mercy Streets movie, you're right. Okay, so if our character, William Reynolds, if he is used to foreign intrigue and like hatching schemes, I mean, clearly when anyone pulls a gun at him, he knows what to do. So like, why couldn't he, thrown in front of people, reasonably like, tell a fake sermon in some comical, like fun way? That would have been so much more fun to watch than this awkward scene where he's like sweating and puttering and like making
stand
people
up, sit down.
Right. Very tedious.
We should hurry on over to the church or we'll be late for your first sermon.
My sermon? Good morning. Today's homily is near and dear to, I am sure, many of you. Let's all stand. Thank you. You may be seated.
He took the easy way out, and this is a man who just told his boss off and just totally matter-of-factly, and then outran the first car bomb while like killing 3 guys in the process by pointing their own guns at each other.
Right.
And then he can't even come through on the sermon.
Yes. However,
a little unbelievable.
I would say so. However, he soon adjusts to life as the vicar in this town under a stolen identity. He ends up falling in love with a young woman named Charlotte Holloway, played by Cara Kilmer. Did you say that they were married?
They're married in real life, governor.
So
they met on this movie and they married 4 years later.
Really?
What?
Yeah. This movie also started production in 2012 and didn't come out until 2015.
Interesting.
It says they met on set in 2012 and didn't get married until 2016.
So soon after this movie's release. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. We're referring to the lead actor is Andrew Chaney. I don't recognize him from anything else. I'm not sure.
No.
And
he's very much not had a great career.
Sure.
His wife, on the other hand.
Cara Kilmer is her name.
Yes.
And she plays Charlotte Holloway.
Or should I say he is her husband, because she's definitely the breadwinner.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If we're subscribing to the idea that marriage means you're somebody else's property,
Yes.
then he is her property.
Which, I mean, Scott and I just watched Johnny Lingo, the Mormon short film, which is literally all just about
women being property.
Yeah, about how many cows can you get for your daughter. That's like the entire
time to flip the
focus of
script.
Yeah.
And that's progress.
The forefathers were so progressive. I'm always saying that.
Yes. Yes. So, I mean, mostly this section of the movie is a love story. However, it takes a very sudden dramatic turn when, William Reynolds, under this vicar assumed identity, proposes marriage to Charlotte Holloway. He says, "Will you consent to be my wife?" To which I say, consent is sexy, guys. Okay.
Yeah.
And she says, "Okay, I want to say yes, but you have to meet my uncle." But who the fuck is this uncle?
Yeah.
It turns out her own uncle is, what's his name? Charles Kemp, who we met earlier.
Uncle Chuck.
Uncle Chuck, the head of the East India Trading Company. And they meet by total surprise. They, of course, recognize each other.
Charlotte, my dear, it grieves me that this scoundrel has lied his way into your affections.
What?
Our paths have crossed before in India.
Charlotte, I can explain.
He is a liar.
And I've changed.
He is an imposter. And he is a murderer.
I'm
Charlotte,
sorry, I don't understand.
I told you Reverend Walters had a past you didn't have.
But you are neither Reverend nor are you Walters. You are the infamous scoundrel, William Reynolds.
Charlotte, please.
Guards!
I can't explain.
Charles Kemp tries to get William Reynolds arrested yet again, but he fucking slips out of their greasy fingers once more.
And we get more 90s style action.
We sure do.
Yeah.
Defenestration.
He's doing fucking parkour, like running
breaks out
on
through
like
the window.
Yeah, it's
like 3 stories up.
yeah.
He had also killed another guy who discovered him too, remember?
Yes. he
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, into highly choreographed martial arts, fist fight,
Yeah.
using guns that are incredibly precise and accurate. Which again, I do not know my history, but my imagination is that literally guns fired sideways in the 1700s. I just really can't imagine you were able to snipe someone at a
Sometimes,
distance.
yeah, most of them just a little flag would come out that said "bang."
Yeah, this really made me want the next John Wick, or better yet, Beckman, to take place in I keep saying 1976, 1776 for some reason.
John Wick has that part in 3 where he's in the antique gun store at the beginning and he has to build the gun before the guys get there.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
It would be like that for the whole movie.
Yeah. That'd
That
be so
sounds
sick.
really sick.
Him and Ben Franklin working together.
Oh my God.
Well,
Well, I actually invented the Assassin's Guild.
I mean, not too far off from where Beyond the Mask goes, because how the fuck does he get to America from here?
I don't know. I was trying to remember that.
How does he get to America from
He just
here?
shows up. He literally just shows up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
We didn't even get a 6 weeks later card that we
Yeah.
often get in the movies we watched.
Oh, I remember.
I respect that.
He
Me
gets
too.
motivated. He escapes from Charles Kemp once again, and he gets motivated. He has a little personal monologue where he says I'm going to become the man that's worthy of Charlotte's love. I'm going to dismantle Charles Kemp's evil plans.
Charlotte, your uncle's evil made me into William Reynolds. But now, he will be my opportunity. I will prove to you that I am a different man. I will dismantle his plans piece by piece. I will create a new reputation honorable enough to save me from my past.
Right, because the guy, his old partner
Yes.
from his assassin days,
Yes.
rescues him and dies in the process. And he says there's only one man who can forgive you. The implication of that being it's Jesus. H. I won't even say the last word because if you've been listening to this, you know who I'm talking about.
So yeah, this desire to avenge brings him to those 13 crazy colonies.
Thing about the guy telling him like you can't seek revenge, you must seek forgiveness. It's like so funny because then he's like, I won't seek revenge, but I will do everything in my power to ruin that man's life and destroy everything he's done because he pissed me off and I want to fuck his niece.
Yes.
So yeah, not technically revenge because he didn't say it.
Yeah.
Or who he wants forgiveness from and exactly why, since he lets all those people die on his way to impressing.
Right.
There's also a scene at
Charlotte.
the very beginning where Charles Kemp is like speaking to the the board of directors of the shareholders of the East India Trading Company, and he's like saying, "We've done everything. We've milked every last penny from." Or whatever they call it.
Farthing.
Yeah, we've milked every last tiddly widdly from India, and next is the colonies.
I love being evil.
Yeah.
Gentlemen of the board, it is good to be back in London. I am pleased to report that our operations in India continue to be profitable. And yet, I have a feeling that our interests in the American colonies could match or even exceed our revenues from India. Provided, of course, that we can keep Parliament from meddling in our affairs.
Never explains what he means by this.
So funny.
Other than I would assume just like starting to sell tea in the colonies.
Yeah.
But as we'll find out, that's not it. So yeah, he's in America now.
He's in America, and
the best place.
yes, I've got to say, this is the greatest country in the world.
Yeah, I'm not just saying that because I was born here, but
No.
it is the greatest in the world.
Like, walk around, like, look around. Like, to all of our American listeners out there, go outside right
Go
now.
outside.
Tell me what you see. Probably fireworks if you're
Go
listening
outside. Take
today.
your mask off. Go beyond the mask.
Oh my God. This movie more prescient than ever.
Damn.
At a time when many Americans are ready to go beyond the mask, here we are, a patriotic film called Beyond the Mask. But for real, he ends up in America, and whose fucking house does he walk into first? He gets off the fucking boat, opens the first door, and who is standing there?
You're Mr. Franklin.
Well, now that depends. Do I owe you money? Have I offended a woman of your acquaintance?
No.
Then I am Benjamin Franklin. How may I be of service?
Benjamin H. I'm not even going to say the last name. You know who it is.
We're talking Poor Richard himself.
Yeah.
Okay. We're talking the fucking
7 years ago.
the man who invented the car bomb, the man who invented the cell phone.
Yes,
he invented
the
the dirty bomb. He invented the IED.
He invented
the pressure
computer
cooker bomb.
He invented the internet.
He did.
He's the first American president to invent the internet, not Al Gore.
We basically see the internet at the end of the movie.
We
too,
do.
with the cables underwater.
Yeah,
We
it's
do.
true, yeah.
We do high-speed fiber.
Yeah.
Fiber connection.
Yeah, I thought it was cool that they made the cables look like modern day cables.
So
So
funny.
funny.
So funny.
That last part, it's just like, who gives a fuck what year we're in?
But yeah, he walks into this company. He's looking for a job.
It's a newspaper printing. It's a printing
newspaper.
press or whatever.
Yeah, another way he's like Spider-Man.
Exactly.
Yes. He literally becomes a Spider-Man type figure. But this, to me, is the centerpiece of the movie, is the fact that there is an actor. Let me get his name. Alan Madeleine. I'm not familiar with him. He plays Ben Franklin.
One of the many characters or many actors on the Wikipedia whose name is not a blue hyperlink.
Right. how is Ben Franklin portrayed in this movie? I think this is so funny. I think this leads to like exactly why you wanted to pick this type of movie, Julian.
I swear the most comparable Ben Franklin I've seen to this Ben Franklin is the Ben Franklin in How High, where they discovered that he invented the first bong.
I don't know how to describe this kind of character, but just see for yourself and you'll know the exact thing that will make me watch a movie and love it. Is this like the kind of actor you see playing Ben Franklin when you go to Colonial Williamsburg.
And also like the way they characterize him, because, you know, we all know Ben Franklin was kind of a whimsical guy, you know? So like, you know, he says things like later in the movie when William Reynolds is revealed to, you know, be a fugitive, he's like, William Reynolds says to Ben Franklin, "Oh, I'm a fugitive on the run." And Ben Franklin goes, "Oh, well, that's not too bad," or whatever. You know what I mean? He's like, he's a little bit of a jokester. He's a little bit of a devil may care. You know what I'm saying? And
I'd rather be a fugitive laying down.
Dude, Ben Franklin is the most Reddit founding father ever.
Yeah.
Like, he is fucking Reddit personified.
He is a test of something, mostly just having fun. He tells William to go to a loyalist bar.
Yeah.
Where he eventually gets beat up and thrown out. And like when he sends him over there, he says to his current apprentice, or the current apprentice says to Ben Franklin, like, he's not going to let, well, everybody in America has American accents for some reason.
That is really funny. I love that.
Just like straight up modern day American accents. His assistant is like, "Well, I think he's going to last like 5 minutes there." And Ben Franklin is like, "I'll give him 6. Then when he meets up with the guy after he gets beat up, he's like, just completely unprompted, says like that famous quote that libertarians say was like,
"He that would give up a little liberty for security deserves neither, and loses both."
He just says that for no reason.
I love that. I love like America libertarian fan fiction. It's like so fucking funny. Like, this movie was more sophisticated at it than like, you know, all the other movies where like, you know, what's the movie we watched with Xavier where the EMP attack happens? Amerigeddon.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's more sophisticated than like Amerigeddon, which is just like straight up like, you know, libertarian. This is like disguised in a somewhat charming like Revolutionary War era action movie, but like it totally is that. Like, you can't make a Christian Americana movie without like throwing in libertarian ideals, you know?
No, it's impossible.
But it's also funny. I mean, what I loved about that like bar scene is that like William Reynolds is instantly like an American revolutionary. Like, he just like crosses the ocean into America.
The perfect hired killer.
Yeah.
He just literally believes in whatever is like told to him at the moment.
Yes.
So it makes, so whoever told him that killing Indian people was bad.
Yeah.
Is the whole reason why he changed his tune. It's just some guy came along and was like, "Hey, what you did was bad."
Yeah. He believes the last thing that was told to him at any time, and he's willing to like fight and die for it.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing.
What happens when he goes in the bar? He's just suddenly...
Well, yeah, all of a sudden he's like, "Well, I think the king is a wanker," or whatever the fuck he says. And like all the guys are like, "You what?
I've never seen you here before. You with Harrison's men?"
Harrison? That thundering cur? I wouldn't leave him my scraps.
He remains loyal to our king.
And to his lying father, the devil. A grown child should have independence from its mother. And for that mother to hold its child against its conscience, against its will, is that not tyranny?
Beware, sir. This is a loyal pub.
For loyal pups.
Because all the people who like the king in America have British accents, and all the people who are revolutionaries have American accents, which is so funny.
It's just so funny that his like allegiance immediately switched from being a hired gun for rich British people who probably owned slaves to being a hired gun for rich colonial people who own slaves.
Absolutely. And that's noble.
And like his only reason for it is because, the British guy I worked for made me kill people in India.
Right.
But I'm just going to ignore everything that's going on in this side of the Atlantic Ocean.
Right.
And then he becomes the highwayman.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
I mean, without really, us having to like discuss why exactly he comes to this point, because it's pretty tedious anyway. He basically becomes, like a superhero, like an American revolutionary superhero named the Highwayman. He literally puts on a fucking mask, hence the movie Beyond the Mask. He is working, may we remind, he is working at an early newspaper.
Mm-hmm. At
night, he is donning a mask and going about the town, foiling bomb, threats. Rescuing kidnapped children, preventing like tar and feather attacks from happening.
They went to that place and he found the bomb and he told like Ben Franklin, this is a bomb. And Ben Franklin was like,
I thought I was the only one who could make a bomb.
Yeah.
Which is like, Ben Franklin did not make bombs. I mean, obviously this movie is like a fantasy, but it's just like so funny that like, I love the idea that, for the sake of an action movie that, all the founding fathers were like skilled at warfare and stuff. But it had little historical things. Like it had these like Leyden jars that Ben Franklin was like working on that like generated electric charges. But in the movie, it explained them away as like bomb detonators, which is like, just not true. The climax of the movie is, of course, we hinted at, but it's literally a remote detonation from like miles away using like an underground and underwater system of like, basically they look exactly like modern power lines. And it's just like a farce.
Behold, Charles, the doctor's ingenious machine. He uses the windmill to turn this wheel, which in turn generates Mr. Franklin's invisible lightning. And when I throw that lever, it moves from the jars to the accumulator up there. Once it has achieved sufficient power, it releases itself, traveling through wires that we have placed under the city, utilizing Mr. Franklin's brand new sewage system. And where does that electricity finally terminate? Barrels of gunpowder, strategically placed.
We've discovered a practical use for electricity.
How many people do you intend to kill?
Oh, how many people do you believe would die if there is an extended war between England and the colonies?
Created by a mad scientist character called the Doctor.
Called the Doctor, who's somehow more, competent than
Did
Ben
we ever
Franklin.
see that guy before that scene?
There's one
and
scene
he's just
where
referred to as the Doctor.
Yes,
he's always like behind things too, or in the background. It's weird.
But to fill in the gaps in between, then he's the highwayman at this point. He's doing things. His love interest, Charlotte, has also conveniently come to America at the request of her uncle, Charles Kemp, who thought it would be a good experience for her. So they're all in the same town. There's even a really comical thing where she like stops into the newspaper where Ben Franklin works and is like, I'm here to tell you the story of what happened. And like William Reynolds has to like run away because, she would recognize him, obviously. But he does reveal himself to her.
Which is like the next scene.
Yes.
After he ran away from her.
Like halfway through the movie. I was actually looking at the timing when that happened, being like, are we like at the ends? But no, it was like we were like halfway done.
He ran away and then like in real time, like 2 hours later, he would have just been like, yeah, you know what? I should have said something. And then goes to her house and is like, I'm the guy.
I'm the highwayman, as a matter of fact. At this scene, we learn that there is going to be some sort of plot on the life of a General George Washington. Now, does that name ring any bells for anyone listening?
Yeah, I see him every time I do my laundry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the highwayman shows up to this masked ball where Charles Kemp and his niece also are. We get to see George Washington, who this is the funniest casting in the whole movie to me. George Washington looks like a fucking nerd in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. They couldn't have got any handsomer guy to
And
be
he
George
also
Washington.
just has a straight American accent too. He's like, what's the meaning of this?
I felt like they had his mouth closed as much as possible because they couldn't get the wooden teeth right.
Right.
All right. Yeah.
I just imagined an actor who moved to Hollywood and got all his teeth replaced with wooden teeth so he could be the only one asked to portray George Washington in movies. Just thought of a new type of guy, I guess you could say. But yeah, George Washington is there. Absolute tedious mix up with these damning papers of evidence that William Reynolds has collected, where he opens them up and he's like, "Oh, I got the wrong papers. I don't know what to say." The evidence is
Completely blank.
That was that was so fucking stupid. At this point, I was like, "This movie sucks. This movie sucks, dick."
It was so funny because then they're like, "This man is the man who committed the atrocities in India,"
Right.
And it's like. Just no one would give a shit. There was no such thing as that stuff then.
Yes.
Why would anyone care?
Right.
Not to like, I'm not saying like, why should they care? But like,
Right, of course.
it's just so insanely unrealistic. And just like that idea of like, America never did anything wrong. Everything wrong in the world happened because of other people doing
Yes.
it. And it's like the idea that, no American company would ever meddle in another country's government or
Right.
anything.
So funny.
Yeah.
Is so silly.
Yeah. It's a modern reframing of these conflicts meant to be like, I mean, the modern way we frame political conflicts being like hoisted upon, this conflict from the 1700s and then being
but only on the bad guys side.
Right.
It's like how conservatives want all history classes to be taught.
Yes. And not only that, it was pretty funny, but also the idea that like, so an attempt on George Washington's life happens at the party. This random masked guy defends it. And like, they then stop everything. And Charles Kemp and the highwaymen basically have a debate. Like they
the
have
record
like
scratches because this is a long time ago. DJ still used records.
Yeah, right. The record scratches and the string quartet slowly fades out, and then it's like then there's a debate where it's like, but I have the evidence. And the person's like, you have no evidence at all. You are the rogue, William Reynolds. And it's just like, I love the idea that they wouldn't just like fucking poke a saber through his heart or something like that instantly. It's just I love the movie trope.
And
of
then
like,
George Washington gets an idea how to like close this case. He's like, "Well, are you William Reynolds?"
Yes.
Yeah.
And he
He's like,
says
so
yes, and then he's gonna be executed at sunup or whatever.
I love the just like the Forrest Gump style thing of like the historical characters aren't the main characters, but they're like ancillary to the plot, and our main characters interact with them. And then like during the credits, you'll see that they like try to say, "Oh no, this is based in something that could have possibly maybe almost happened."
Right. Like the quote at the end of the movie where they're like, the text at the end of the movie that like there was an attempt on George Washington's life that happened.
No shit. There was one every day. It was called the fucking Revolutionary War. Yeah. So William Reynolds gets arrested and then he's brought to a boat for extradition, I think.
Yeah.
And then execution, presumably. And that's when Charlotte dons the tricorn hat, sneaks out, and goes to visit him on the boat and helps him escape.
Love the movie trope of the like ultra feminine, damsel who like puts on men's clothes and suddenly becomes like swashbuckling, like, somewhat draggy, like, hero. She's still like ultra femme and does everything for her man, but now she has like the man's capacity for adventure and stuff like that. It's so funny.
Just for no reason except for the fact that it has to be done in relation to the man who is in her life.
Yes.
She would never come to that on her own, except for the fact that she's horny for this guy.
Right. And specifically right after he did the horniest thing he could have done, which is come to Christ, ask for forgiveness from Jesus Christ.
And do that stupid little twirly dance that they do. Yes. I'm going to call it now on this episode that in 3 years, tricorn hats will be back.
Yes.
And particularly women wearing tricorn hats.
Yes.
70s fashion will be back.
Just because, exactly.
A little bit of a Poor Richard's style almanac right here.
Start writing your think pieces about how they're the ultimate feminist fashion statement, and then also how they perpetuate white supremacy.
Yes. This is
you can play both sides.
I love
right now. Get ready.
I'm so excited for this 3-month-long culture war in 2023 or whatever
about the tricorn hats and what part of LA will be gentrified by in Riverside.
When you see white people wearing tricorn hats, you know your rent's going up.
Yeah.
Or I love the idea of a think piece that's like, teen girls on TikTok are wearing tricorn hats. Why this is a bad thing?
They're not wrong. I'm with that side.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But this basically. Oh yeah. Well, we should definitely talk about his very sincere and direct conversion to Jesus Christ. I actually thought that the metaphor that they landed on to talk about forgiveness of sins was pretty interesting,
I never told you. The night I escaped Addlesbury, Jeremiah, he gave his life for me. I realized tonight that that's the same thing that Christ did for me.
Yeah, he makes an interesting metaphor. He was basically like, the first time I took the vicar's identity, I stole that identity. I stole that name. But when Jeremiah died for me, he gave me his name. He allowed me to continue on, renewed, basically. And he equates this to Jesus dying for the sins of the world. Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
However, it should be noted, he is saying this deliberately so he can, get waist deep in some 18th century poon.
Yeah. It's like a funny thing because both he and her are using Christianity as just an excuse to fuck the other person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like he
heaven is a place on earth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like he needs to be Christian so that she'll have sex with him, and she needs him to be Christian so she can have sex with him.
God, things were so much hotter back in the day. I'm becoming more and more trad the more we do this podcast. Like sex is
You're starting to learn something when we watch these movies.
Sex is so much more fun and urgent when like both of you are like 17 and need to fuck ASAP, so you have to like become Christians in order to like get married.
It's like Steven Crowder said.
Yes, every day I find myself more and more in agreement with Steven Crowder.
Yeah.
He'll be wearing a tricorner hat any day now.
Oh man, it's so difficult to suck dick while you're wearing a tricorn hat though, because the fucking end of the hat keeps bumping into the guy's stomach.
You gotta think about that stuff. After they get their horniest for each other, that's when Julian, you pointed out, she takes on a very Keira Knightley role in Pirates of the Caribbean, where she turns into a swashbuckler all of a sudden.
Yes, very much so.
This really was just like an amalgam of what all the big action movies in 2012 were, like Pirates of the Caribbean and like Spider-Man 3 or whatever.
Yeah, it was like Pirates of the Caribbean and Spider-Man, but like, as we said in the beginning, sort of like paced in this like almost vintage, like 90s way. It was very... It was kind of delightful, honestly.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of really tedious parts, but before we go, we would be remiss not to talk about, although we hinted at it already, the final arc, the final like mission that has to be, overcome before, before he can truly be the hero of the story, which is, of course, foiling the remote detonation plot to destroy the Continental Congress in the city of Philadelphia.
And the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It's the windmill with the underwater boat.
That part
we already
was
talked
insane.
about this?
Yeah. No, we didn't.
Yeah,
We didn't not really detail out how that underwater lair was.
The final showdown was in Mr. What was his name? Mr. Crump? Mr. Clint? Mr. Clit? What was the bad guy's name?
Oh my God, I'm fucking
Charles Kemp.
Charles Kemp. He had his like evil hideout was a windmill that went underwater into a sunken boat.
Yeah.
Like an upside down sunken boat. And they built this insane like Tesla coil thing that was going to just electrocute everybody in Philadelphia and then blow the whole place up. Which was like,
and they had
just made no sense for like any reason why he would do that.
No, and they had an underwater system of cables that led into the sewer system of Philadelphia and into various houses and into barrels of gunpowder that were in the basement of the house where they were holding the Congress, which is like it's just miles and miles ostensibly of wires just like running through this town and coming up into like 5 barrels in a building. It's like so elaborate.
The idea that this guy who is the head of the most powerful company in the world is like really gives that much of a shit about the American colonies. Right. Which is just like was like such a minor thing at the time in the world that it was like a proxy war between France and England.
Right.
That just like spawned just the most evil country in the history of the world.
Yes.
But it wasn't seen that way back then. It was just like France and England needed a new place to fight.
I can't emphasize enough either. Like a lot of the stuff they tried to make like, well, what would it have looked like back then? But the cables really do look like they just borrowed them from the grip department.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely just power lines. It's also just fun.
It's like extension cords and power strips
actually
everywhere.
powering the lights that are going on set.
Yes. And again, I know this is like a fantasy action movie, but like you could very easily see the like giant network of cables leading into the water. And like, could you imagine anyone just walking by and being like, oh, what's all this then?
Yeah. It was like going through a sewer. They were like, we ran it through the newly built sewer designed by Mr. Franklin. All this shit.
Inventor
It's
of the
so
sewage
funny.
system. The modern sewage system.
Just like, just really funny also that very accurate that a rich and powerful man would be using this incredible technology not to power the city of Philadelphia with electricity in the 1700s, but instead to blow it up because he didn't want them to stop paying taxes.
But the real climax of the movie, after they dismantle the bombing of the Declaration of the Independence,
right?
Charlotte and William are back in a carriage together. They're riding off into the distance, talking for a few minutes, and then a note falls from the ceiling. One last invention from Benjamin Franklin. And he's written this nice letter. What did the fucking letter say? I don't even remember.
They don't even finish the letter because he starts like making out with her. But it was just like, to the Honorable William Reynolds, like I commend you on your like blah, blah. But it's like, it's literally not even important enough for the movie to finish it. They just start making out. But you're right. It literally just like, I've never seen this type of storytelling in a movie where like people are just sitting in a room and then it's like point and click game logic. Yeah. It's like they're literally just sitting in a room and a letter fucking falls from the ceiling.
So
and you grab it and you're like, oh, you have acquired Ben Franklin's letter.
Yeah.
Like read. Yeah. Well, I would say like basically for me, the main themes of this movie are one, if you're Christian, you can have sex. Like,
yeah, that's what this
really
country
hot
was
babes.
founded on.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that, a really good lesson from this movie is, to invoke Christianity when you can. 2, the hot Christian girl. Change your entire life so that you can be with her.
Say something like, you embody God's mercy to me.
The thought of losing you, it's more than I can bear. It You embody God's mercy for me. Please don't go to America. I don't want to be separated from you. Will you consent to be my wife?
Oh,
Yes, that was the ultimate Christian
line.
That was the ultimate Christian pickup line to me. Like I wrote that one down
really
to be
is
used
like
later.
A world-class assassin.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was absolutely true what you said earlier, that really he just feels no contradiction in fully embodying whatever is most beneficial to him at that moment. He's ready to fully embody it and live
He's
it
a
to its
true
fullest.
psychopath.
Yeah. Genius. The first American Psycho, you could say. But that is a big theme. Also, America's the greatest country on earth.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking glad we won the Revolutionary War. Like, imagine, like, Hollywood. Like,
it'd be called Hollywood.
Hollywood, eh?
Yeah, thank God Benjamin Franklin was allowed to invent the American accent because
Yes. He invented a new way of talking.
George Washington.
Well, actually, the reason Ben Franklin invented the American accent is because with George Washington's wooden teeth, he couldn't pronounce things a certain way. And so Ben Franklin didn't want to like offend him. So he popularized a way of talking like George Washington. That
Brilliant.
Spread through the colonies.
First, he invented the telephone, got people using it, and was
right. Yeah.
leaving lots of messages in the new American accent.
Well, yeah. I'm like I said, this was a war well fought, well won. We're the winners. We're the greatest country on earth. Much love to the 4th of July. Literally my favorite holiday. I think the 4th of July is so much fun. It's like
Southland Tales.
Yes. It's like I just basically love the movie Southland Tales so much that I have become like a fervent patriot. And it's basically like Christmas with a better color scheme is my personal opinion. I love the 4th of July. And it's in summer. Don't we love summer? I love fucking fireworks.
Independence Day, the
summer.
movie.
Yeah.
Jaws.
Lana Del Rey.
Do you think 4th of July will ever be like a year-round kind of thing? Like sort of how boomers have Christmas, that they're all about all year round, and millennials have Halloween that they're all about. And I've told you this thing about how there's no difference between the boomers who love Christmas and the millennials who love Halloween. That's going to be
so true.
I think Los Angeles really does celebrate the 4th of July year round.
That is actually true. We have some of the most fireworks I've personally ever experienced.
Yeah, that is true.
Months worth of like just sitting in my house, and then like from what seems like 10 feet away, there was like a huge
3
rattling
M80s go
explosion that like makes me like jump.
It's pretty sweet. I like it.
I honestly kind of like it.
I like the thrill, but I also don't have PTSD.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
I feel very bad for people who do.
Oh, certainly.
Around this time of year.
Certainly. But I love haunted houses, and I love that we've built ourselves like a giant patriotic haunted house to live in. We constant jump scares. I think it's great. What do you say? What would you, the co-host of Boys Bible Study, what would we rate the movie?
Me?
Beyond, yes.
Little old
you.
me?
I'm talking to you, all 3 of the people on mics right now.
Oh, shit.
What would you rate the movie Beyond the Mask?
Thanks to our forefathers, we're free to rate this movie however we want.
That's absolutely true. Except for the fact that it's not, because we have a very specific system for how we rate the movies.
Yeah, well,
because of our forefathers.
That's true.
Of course, you would say that being taught critical podcast theory in a liberal arts school.
I loved how much 90s style action was in this movie that took place in 1776.
Yes.
Car bombs. I never would have guessed somebody would have put a car bomb in a movie in 1776. Loved Ben Franklin, just the portrayal of him in general, everything he did. They loaded up a cart with a box of gunpowder and were like, be very careful with that. And I thought it was going to be like Sorcerer, like really reminded me of so many movies.
Yes, it
This is
did.
so fun. I'm going to have to give this movie 1 saved Declaration of Independence out of 1 anarchist cookbook.
Yes.
Yeah, this movie did really make the compelling claim that Ben Franklin was the author of the Anarchist Cookbook. I thought that was genius.
Yeah, so this had everything I love in life, which is historical fiction with the actual historical figures in it. I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 keys hanging from kites in a lightning storm.
This movie, the divine inspiration you can get from this movie would be the feeling of flying a kite in a lightning storm. I think that's what Jesus coming into your life feels like after you watch this movie.
Yeah. As
for me, I've got to say that there were moments where I was like, I just don't know if I'm going to like this movie. I don't understand the direction. I find it to be very tedious. It really won me over. It was really charming. The action was so much fun. I loved the electronic generator windmill helmed by the evil doctor in a powdered wig. It's like so fucking funny. The climax where he like dodges out of the way and Charles Kemp, gets plunged into the heart of the windmill and is like getting electroshocks.
After he takes his powdered wig off because he's like, this is serious.
It was so sick. I'm going to have to give this 4-7 out of 4-7 years ago because this was a perfect movie in every way. Shout outs to the filmmakers of Beyond the Mask and also the founding fathers of America, the greatest country in the world, baby.
Thank you.
We
you. Stan our founding kings. But not actually kings because we don't like those.
Right.
Yeah.
So many teens these days, they stan BTS, but they don't stan USA.
Yeah.
I think that's sad.
Or that's funnier than what I was going to try to say.
Well, gentle listeners, we hope you enjoyed our review of Beyond the Mask. We do recommend you watch this movie on Tubi.tv. Support independent cinema by watching this shitty fucking film on Tubi. As always, if you have not subscribed yet to our show, check out boysbiblestudy.com. There's links to subscribe on all podcast platforms, and you can hear all of our free episodes. But if you really like what we do and you want to support us, check out patreon.com/boysbiblestudy, where for your pledge of $5 a month or more, you get access to our back catalog of bonus episodes, and we make 2 new ones, at least 2 every month for you. So please check it out. Thank you to our generous patrons, especially our patrons at the $20 patron saint tier, whom we shout out at the end of every episode. Thank you so much, Nicole, Marissa, Jeff, and Jane. We really appreciate your generous support. Our outro music is Oh My God by Mary. Check out Mary's music on Bandcamp and Spotify. From all of us here at Boys Bible Study, myself, Ash, my co-hosts, Scott and Julian, and the founding fathers that made America the incredible country it is today, we would like to say, peace be with you.
And also with you.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I feel your love in me, it's coming from within. Oh my God, my devotion is so unwavering. Divine emotions when you enter me.